Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today I'm going to show you how to open documents with specific applications. Now as an example here, I've got two text files. And they're really simple basic text files, and I created them using TextEdit. They're plain text files, and I have two different applications I can use to open these. You can see them right here. One is TextEdit. The other is a popular app called Text Wrangler, which also edits text files. So if I double click on these, because I created them in TextEdit, they will, as you would expect, open in TextEdit. You can see here I've opened this in TextEdit. Now I can choose to open this in another app, say Text Wrangler, in a variety of different ways. One is, of course, just drag and drop into the dock here onto Text Wrangler, and you see it opens in Text Wrangler instead. And I can drag and drop onto the application itself in the Applications folder. I can create an alias to either of these two apps and drag and drop onto that. But you can use drag and drop to decide which application opens the file. Now another way to do this is to control click or use your secondary click, two fingers on a trackpad for instance, or the right side of a mouse. I'm going to control click on this, and you can see that I could open the file, which is the same as double clicking it. I can also choose open with, and this will give me the default app right here. It shows me TextEdit would open by default, and also a variety of other apps that claim that they can handle text files. Doesn't mean they can, just means that the application itself says, yeah, I can handle a text file. Now it may not handle it in the way you want. It may not, for instance, Safari is not going to open it for editing, which is what you may want to do, but other ones will. And you can see Text Wrangler is here, so I can choose Text Wrangler from this list, and it opens up in Text Wrangler. Now if I close it, I'm just using Command W to close it. I double click on it, it's still going to open up in TextEdit. I've only temporarily changed that behavior by choosing open with and choosing another app. Now you can permanently change this behavior by control clicking again, choosing open with, and going to Text Wrangler here, but instead of just selecting, I'm going to hold down the Option key on my keyboard, and notice the open with changes to always open with. And if I select Text Wrangler, it opens in Text Wrangler as before, and every time I double click to open this, it will now open in Text Wrangler. Here's another text file created by TextEdit, and if I double click that, that's going to open in TextEdit. So I've only set up a special exception for this one file here, which will now always open in Text Wrangler. If I control click on it and choose open with, notice that TextEdit, that app, is still set as the default for this type of file, but I know that I've changed it so that Text Wrangler will open up each time. I can change it back by holding the Option key down again. It changes to always open with, select TextEdit, and now TextEdit once again will always open this file. So the question is, how can I change what opens text files for all text files, even not the one selected? So I have this one selected here. I'm going to get info on it. So I'm going to do File and Get Info, and it's going to open up the info window here. And I'm going to select to have this open with Text Wrangler. It appears to be the same functionality that we had by control clicking on the file. And now that has set that, I can close it and I can open this and it will open with Text Wrangler. But it won't change how this text document or any other text document is going to open. However, if I hit this Change All button here, it gives me a warning. I say OK, and I can close that. Now not only will this one open with Text Wrangler, but this one, which wasn't even selected during the previous operation, will also open with Text Wrangler. Any file of this file type will now open with Text Wrangler. I also want you to notice two other options here. If you go down to open with, you see there's other here. So for some reason a application does not show up in this list. That means it doesn't say it can handle a text file, but sometimes they can. Sometimes utilities and such can handle text files, and you know they can. Or perhaps they import that file or do something special with it. You can choose other and then choose any application you want. It just allows you to choose from the Finder. You can also choose App Store, and what App Store does is it goes to the Mac App Store and it will then do a search, and you can see a very specific search it performs, and it will display all of the apps it can find that claim to open that type of files. In this case, 224 different applications in the App Store say they can open a text file. Now it's not so great for text files. It might help you find some new interesting text file editors, but for very specific types of files, maybe files that you can't open with anything else, using that functionality may show you an app in the App Store that you can get that can handle that type of file. It's great for different types of graphics and video files that you can't seem to edit with anything else.